The shocking truth of visiting a haunted brothel in Pompeii at midnight. You won't believe this. The wind howled through the crumbling ruins of Pompeii, carrying whispers of lives lost and secrets buried deep, as the clock struck midnight. The eerie glow of the full moon cast long shadows over the ancient stones, and if you dared to tread these haunted paths, you might feel a chill brush against your spine. Rumors swirled about a brothel that defied logic, where the air thickened with mystery and perfume intertwined with the scent of decay. What truly awaited those brave enough to cross its threshold? Night had fallen in this once thriving city, now steeped in demise, and yet the night sang of sirens, a strange echo of laughter bubbling up from the depths of sorrow. As Alex stepped closer, his heart raced like a caged bird, hammering at his ribcage. The brothel loomed ahead, marked by faded frescoes and belligerent vines, each telling stories of ecstasy and despair that seemed to pulse with life. He could almost hear the faint cries of pleasure against the backdrop of the past, mingling with the distant rustle of ash that had once been vibrant life. With every step forward, a gnawing tension crept into his chest. Ghostly figures, silent and beautiful, flickered in the corner of his vision, pale echoes of the women who had once inhabited this space. Would they show themselves? Would they share their stories? The thought sent a shiver coursing through him, but his curiosity clawed for freedom. There was a rumor, an unsettling whisper about one spirit in particular, still bound to this world, her heart still beating in a time long gone. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Alex paused, breathing in the hot, musty air that felt more alive than he did in that moment. Could he step inside, or was it simply madness to engage with the unknown? The door, a battered piece of wood, swung open silently, inviting him into darkness. Shadows danced around him, taunting his fear with playful whispers. What if the woman within, longing for freedom, would reveal the truth of her fate? Could he dare to uncover the shocking truth of what lay in wait? Heart racing, he inhaled sharply. The brothel's secrets were about to be unearthed as the air strained with anticipation. What horrors or revelations would he find inside? The impending moment of truth loomed, ready to unravel a story etched in suffering and desire. As Alex stepped over the threshold, a chill enveloped him like a cold embrace. The air thickened, pregnant with the weight of forgotten stories and lingering regret. The darkness swallowed him whole, and he could barely make out the outlines of faded furniture and draped fabrics. Shadows darted around, teasing the edge of his vision, demanding he confront the history hiding within these walls. That he took a tentative step forward, his footfall muffled against the dusty floor. Every creak amplified the stillness, creating a haunting melody that echoed in the emptiness. The brothel seemed to breathe around him, exhaling secrets that curled and slithered like smoke. What had happened here? Who had wandered these halls, and what truths were they hiding? Ciao! A whisper floated through the air, delicate yet sharp, as if it pierced right through the veil of time. Alex froze, feeling the hairs on his neck stand at attention. Was it his imagination? Or was someone truly calling him? Ciao! The voice came again, this time a mere breath, but it seemed to resonate deep within him. It beckoned, seductive and melancholic, drawing him deeper into the brothel's depths. He mustered his courage and moved towards the sound, heart pounding, as if to match the rhythm of a distant drum. The narrow corridor opened into a small chamber illuminated only by the silvery moonlight spilling through a shattered window. In the center of the room, an old mirror hung crookedly on the wall, its surface tarnished and cracked, reflecting fragments of the past. Before the mirror stood a figure draped in white, her outline shimmering like a mirage. She was ethereal, appearing both breathtakingly beautiful and heartbreakingly sorrowful. "Who are you?" Alex managed to croak, his voice cracking under the weight of disbelief. Once. I was Maria, the apparition responded, her voice like a melody laced with longing. I danced for them, sang for them. She paused, her gaze piercing through him as if seeing more than just his physical form. But they forgot me, just as I have forgotten myself. His heart raced, questions tumbling over each other in his mind. Why are you here? Are you trapped? The phantom swayed gracefully, her expression shifting between nostalgia and pain. Trapped? Perhaps. But in truth, I am bound to this place, like all of us here. We yearn for recognition. He stepped closer, feeling both drawn to her and terrified at the thought of what she represented. What happened to you? Maria's eyes glistened with unshed tears, her voice trembling like a wisp of smoke. They took everything, my hope, my life. We were sold, loved, and lost. Her ethereal hand stretched toward him, fingers outstretched. But there is one truth, they buried the truth of sacrifice. His stomach twisted. Sacrifice? The word hung heavy in the air, adding more weight to the oppressive silence. What had they sacrificed? Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the back of the brothel, jarring him from the trance. Shadows flickered back to life, clawing at the edges of the room. Alex stumbled, instinctively stepping back. Had he disturbed something dormant? Listen. You must know. Maria's voice rose above the chaos. To understand the past, you must. Before she could finish, the lights flickered violently, plunging him into darkness. Heart racing, he strained to hear her, desperate for answers. But silence enveloped him once more, thick as fog. The air crackled with tension. What had he just stumbled onto? And what was the cost of uncovering these truths? With dread tightening his chest, Alex whispered into the gloom, "What do I need to do?" The darkness whispered back, and as he stood frozen, the answer seemed to pulse through the very ground beneath him, calling not only for understanding but for a reckoning that would change everything. In the suffocating blackness, Alex felt a cold sweat trickle down his back. He remained rooted to the spot, the echo of Maria's sorrowful lament still reverberating in his mind. A low rumbling emerged from the depths of the brothel, a sound rattling through the walls, as if the structure itself were awakening. "Get out," a cracked voice croaked from the shadows, sending a jolt through him. Alex whirled around, searching for the source, every instinct urging him to flee. But something anchored him in place. Was it fear or sheer curiosity? "Who are you?" he called out, his voice tremulous yet defiant. The shadows shifted, stretching and retracting like living beings. "Just someone who knows too much." The voice caught in a hitch, layers of dread hanging heavily in the air. "They won't let you leave." Alex's heart pounded. What was this place? It felt alive, pulsating with memories of anguish. The stories trapped within these walls clawed for release. He felt the darkness pulling at him, urging him to discover what lay beneath the surface. "Maria?" he called, breaking the silence. "What do you mean by sacrifice?" Her apparition flickered back into view, shimmering like a mirage on the edge of water. "Every soul here carries a weight, a debt to pay," she murmured, her voice now tinged with urgency. "To seek the truth is to tread on dangerous ground. You must be willing to uncover the awful depths." Before she could finish, the ground trembled violently beneath him. The walls shook, dust and debris raining down as if the place itself was trying to warn him to turn back. Shadows screamed past him, swirling like a tempest, desperate to engulf him. "Get out." The voice emerged again, louder this time, filled with panic. "Please, you don't understand." Maria's face distorted into a mask of sorrow, a silent plea brimming in her eyes. Alex could feel the apathy of past lives thickening the atmosphere around him. "Or you'll become one of us," another specter whispered from the corners of his mind, echoing his own thoughts that he stumbled backward, the existing dread now morphing into a raw terror. The need to understand clashed with the instinct to survive. What sacrifices had those before him made? What debt lay ahead of him? should he dare to unravel the knot of misery and fate entwined in this forsaken house? Tell me. He shouted into the void, heart racing, desperation clawing at him. The walls held their breath, waiting, as if the very air was charged with anticipation. One last shudder echoed through the chamber. The lights flickered back on, flickering weakly. For a brief moment, he caught a glimpse of other figures in the shadows, faces twisted in anguish, mouths forming silent screams. Gripped by dread, he felt compelled to act. Something was pushing him toward the hidden truth sealed within this cursed place, but was it wisdom or madness that he sought? Alex's throat constricted. He closed his eyes, steeling himself. What must I sacrifice? The answer rushed at him like a violent wave, and in that instant, the flickering lights dimmed, casting shadows that danced wildly across the room. The air grew thicker, charged with electric tension, and he knew he was running out of time. A sudden chill swept through him, and he realized the darkness harbored secrets far worse than he imagined. What awaited him was far more terrifying than he'd ever prepared for. Would he uncover the truth, or become yet another lost soul, bound forever to this haunted place? The darkness pressed in like a vice, choking him with its grip. Alex opened his eyes, blinking against the flickering lights that cast eerie shades across the walls. He was still alive, but the air was thick with suffocating tension. What was about to happen? He could feel a presence coiling around him, wrapping tighter with every heartbeat. Too late, the voice rasped again, its pitch rising in urgency. Shadows twisted unnaturally, beckoning Alex deeper into the haunted corners of the brothel. He fought against the overwhelming tide that wanted to pull him under, desperate to escape, yet the magnetic pull of the truth was tantalizing. Maria's figure flickered, her expression full of foreboding. You must listen. You are wrapped in a web of pain, she urged, her voice wavering. Not all truths are meant to be unearthed. Then what am I supposed to do? He shouted, his voice echoing in the stillness. The walls seemed to shiver at his question, responding with a low, reverberating moan as if they were alive. Each sound sent chills racing down his spine, carving the fear deeper into his bones. In a rush of defiance, Alex took a step forward. Show me. But with every inch, that ice-cold dread gripped him harder, twisting his gut. The figures hidden in the shadows grew clearer, their anguished faces morphing into a collage of wretched memories, eyes wide with terror, mouths twisted in frozen screams. Sacrifice. A whisper slithered through the air, creeping into his mind. It wrapped around him in an insistent vice, constricting with every heartbeat. What are you willing to pay? His breath quickened. I don't know what that means. Maria's form wavered closer, her features softening for just a heartbeat. The secret you seek is an echo of the past. The spirits, they hunger for release. But shadows, Alex, they are not all what they seem. He could feel their watchful gazes, the weight of countless souls pressing against him. It filled him with dread and the agonizing realization that some part of him, some desire for the forbidden, yearned to step deeper into this nightmare. What if he shattered the fragile veil? Would he emerge unscathed, or would he become another tortured echo trapped forever in this purgatory? Every time, another female apparition chimed in, her voice dripping with regret. Every time someone seeks knowledge, someone pays. A vein of panic snaked through him. What price could he possibly pay? The thought consumed him with a vertigo of realization. The darkness stirred, longing to know what he would sacrifice. The whispers grew louder, tugging at the threads of his sanity. He found himself inching toward the back of the room, a doorway barely illuminated, framed in shadows. There was something there, flickering at the edges of his vision. Was it hope or doom? Just before he could step through, a hand grabbed his arm, a cold grip that sent shocks of terror through him. It was the shadow again, powerful now, its grip as unyielding as stone. You cannot go there. You must leave while you can. Fighting against the hold, he gritted his teeth. I need to know. The darkness roared, a cyclone of air bursting around him. He felt time stretching, every heartbeat echoing maddeningly, threatening to consume him wholly. You don't understand the price his mind raced. What was he willing to give? Suddenly, the whispers crescendoed into a deafening symphony of agony as a vision crashed into his mind. He saw faces, eyes wide with fear, echoes of past sacrifices, souls clawing against the walls, desperate to escape. In that moment, dread seized his heart. The truth was not just a story, it was alive, hungry, and it wanted more. Help! He gasped as the reality of his choice loomed ahead. But the shadows only laughed, a sound like shattering glass. You've reached the point of no return. What awaited him on this dark path was unclear. The shadows promised answers but carried an unforgiving price. Alex felt the weight of his decision bearing down on him as reality warped around him. Would he be ready to pay whatever it took to uncover the truth? Or would he fall into the depths, forever entangled in the haunting despair of those who came before? The air crackled with uncertainty, and a flicker of hope struggled against the gathering storm. It was time to make a choice, but the price loomed large and unforgiving. What if the sacrifice demanded was more than he could ever bear? The grip of the shadow tightened, a chain of cold around Alex's arm pulling him back like a riptide. Panic surged, boiling in his veins. "Let me go!" he shouted, his voice cracking under the strain of his desperation, but the darkness only tightened its hold, like a noose drawing closer. "You don't know what lies beyond," the shadow hissed, its voice twisting in the confines of his mind. "You are not prepared." Prepared for what? He gasped, trying to pry away from the unyielding grasp. Suddenly, the world around him swirled, the walls stretching like taffy, contorting with shadows more alive and hungry than ever. Faces flashed in front of him, women, men, all crushed by the weight of their secrets. They reached out with skeletal hands, their eyes hollow and pleading. "Leave us!" One wailed, a sound that clawed at his heart. "Do not succumb to their lure. The truth will swallow you whole." But just as abruptly as the chaos began, silence fell. The darkness hung heavy, a blanket that muted even the pounding of his heart. Alex felt the shadows pull back just enough to breathe, just enough to hear the echoes of his own thoughts crashing against the dread. "If I don't know, I'll never be free." Maria's image faltered again, flickering like a distant candle. "There is power within the truth, Alex, but it demands a tribute. Help me," he pleaded, wrestling with the terror rising in his throat. "What can I give?" "You must confront what haunts you," she said, her voice a fragile thread woven into the darkness. "Face the sacrifice, only then will you understand the cost." Every muscle in him tensed, caught between the inexplicable urge to flee and an unrelenting curiosity that burned like fire in his chest. Facing the sacrifice meant diving deeper into pain. But wasn't that the risk he had always avoided? Then he felt it, a sudden shift, the shadows quivered as if sensing his resolve. "Truth is a knife, Alex," the shadow warned, its icy breath wrapping around him. "Are you willing to cut into the flesh of your past?" With every beat of his racing heart, a vision unfolded. He saw the brothel, but it was bright. Laura, his lost love, stood there, a ghost in the fabric of reality, gazing at him with those reassuring brown eyes. "You can save me, but at what cost?" she mouthed, her voice a haunting whisper that echoed inside his mind. "Laura!" he cried out, reaching for her, desperation twisting his features. But as his fingers stretched towards her, they brushed only the cold gloom. The shadow let out a low, throaty laugh. "You think it will be so simple? Charity demands blood." Fueled by that fury and despair, Alex wrestled with the grip holding him hostage. "I will pay. I'll give anything if it means freeing her." "Beware," the shadows murmured in unison, their voices weaving a sinister hymn. "The price will be steep." A crack erupted through the darkness, and for a fleeting instant, he glimpsed what lay behind the doorway was ajar, a sliver of painfully bright light seeping through. Hope clamored for attention, a siren's call anchored by the certainty of enduring pain. It beckoned him closer while the darkness howled in protest, but as he stepped forward, the frigid air turned frantic, twisting around him with fierce urgency. "No one leaves without paying the toll." Alex halted, heart racing, paralyzed by uncertainty and fear. The Shadow's voice morphed into a chorus of laughter, hollow, maddening, cruel. Fear threatened to swallow him whole, as he faced the reality. To step through that doorway meant to finally confront the truth, but could he handle the revelation waiting for him? Do you truly want to know? The shadows whispered, voices intertwining like the vicious winds of a hurricane. Are you prepared for the reckoning? In that paralyzing moment, Alex had only one choice to make. Would he step into the light or retreat into the darkness? The gamble was on the edge, and the outcome was still a secret waiting to explode. What awaited him on the other side could shape his reality forever. But the cost was still veiled in shadows. The light grew brighter, burning a hole into the darkness that coiled around him like a serpent. Alex could feel its warmth on his skin, yet it seemed too far, always just out of reach. He strained against the shadows, his muscles trembling, each breath pulling him nearer to the threshold that promised liberation or devastation. Don't you want to know? The shadow swirled, its tone mocking yet laced with an undercurrent of dread. What if the truth is more than your fragile heart can bear? Either way, I have to try. He shouted, defiance rising like a flame inside him. He planted his feet firmly, ready to charge into that blinding light. But before he could make another move, the shadows twisted around him, suffocating and heavy. Are you willing to face your past, Alex? To uncover the fractures that made you? The voice pressed against his ears, its tone shifting from sinister to seductive. Images flashed in his mind, memories he buried deep. The laughter of friends long gone. The betrayal stitched into his chest like a scar he couldn't touch without trembling. And at the center of it all, Laura. Her vibrant smile dimmed by the weight of the shadows that followed him. Let me show you, the shadows whispered, drawing him back, melding with his fears. A glimpse of reality. Are you ready? The darkness pulled him down, dragging him toward an abyss that promised answers, but only through torment that a new vision formed. The brothel was alive. A seedy, tawdry place with laughter echoing, the chair creaking beneath him. And there was Laura, radiant and filled with life but tinged with sadness. He could see her, no, he could feel her. He wanted to scream, "What are you doing here?" But the words clawed at his throat, entangled with doubt. Your past is not gone, Alex, said the shadow, growing bold, as if feeding on his fear. Can you face the reason she is lost? Can you wear her pain, echo it back to her? Trembling, he wavered. No. I can't. I want. Then remain here, it hissed, wrapping tighter around him, in this eternal shadow, where secrets fester, and hope dies. The pulsating light behind the door surged with intensity, a beacon calling to him, threading through the fear and uncertainty. Silence hung now, pregnant and suffocating. Each breath was a weight he struggled to carry. But something deep within him knew he had to act. Not just for Laura, for himself. Gathering whatever courage he could muster, Alex yelled, I will face my truth. I won't let fear hold me back any longer. As those words hung in the air, a crack of thunder erupted in the depths of the darkness. The shadows shrieked, pulling back, shrinking away as the light surged forward. It filled the space, pushing against the darkness, an overwhelming tide of radiance. No. The voices screamed, a cacophonous roar of disbelief and rage. You think you can escape? You are bound by more than you comprehend. Ignoring their pleas, Alex lunged toward the doorway, heart hammering, hope igniting inside him like wildfire. He felt the shadows claw at him, slipping through his fingers as he reached for the threshold, the brilliant light engulfing him. In a pulsating heartbeat, he was through. Staggering into the brilliance, he gasped as the brightness consumed the last vestiges of the shadows. Alex found himself standing alone in a vibrant, surreal landscape that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, both beautiful and chaotic. The scent of jasmine and decay wove through the air, disorienting. Laura! He shouted, but the only response was silence, thick and heavy. Then, from the shadows ahead, a faint figure materialized. Heart racing, he took a step toward her, only to find her shrouded in an unsettling mist, the ghost of a memory, both haunting and intoxicating. "Are you ready to face what you've left behind, Alex?" She raised her head, and the hollow echo of her once bright eyes bore into his soul that in that moment, realization crashed over him. What had he awakened? What beauty or horror had he unleashed? And as the mist swirled threateningly, engulfing them both, one chilling question pierced the air: what price will you pay to uncover the truth? The shadows were closing in once more, and Alex wondered if he had truly escaped the darkness or if it was only just beginning to reveal its true face. The figure that resembled Laura wavered before him, her face shifting as if she were made of smoke and sorrow. Each moment, he felt pulled between disbelief and recognition. Fear gripped him, prickling at the back of his neck, but a deeper force urged him forward. "Laura!" He tried again, desperation clinging to each syllable. "Is it really you?" Her voice echoed back with a weight he couldn't ignore. "It's me, but not the me you remember." The air grew thick, and Alex realized the jasmine scent was laced with something more sinister, like memories he couldn't quite grasp, yet they twisted around his heart, squeezing tight. "What did I leave behind?" he asked, trembling. "Why did you fade?" As the mist curled around her, Laura's expression morphed into one of soft regret, as if something unsaid bound her to this transient space. "You ran from the truth, Alex. You chose to forget." "What truth?" The words burst out, raw and jagged. He felt like a man on the edge, desperately trying to pull back from the void. "What did I do?" A painful silence settled, heavy and moist, and then she spoke, barely above a whisper. "You took the pain of our past and buried it. But pain can't be erased." The shadows laughed, a terrible cacophony that seemed to swell and pulsate around him. "See how you've trapped her. You're the architect of your own destruction." Alex clenched his fists. "I didn't want this." "And yet, here you are," Laura said, the mist swirling around her limbs, blurring her shape. "You have to confront what you've avoided, Alex. Remember the moments that shattered us." He took a step forward, heart pounding. Each breath felt like a battle, a sharp intake of reality piercing through the disorienting haze. Memories surged before him, vivid and overwhelming: their first kiss beneath the stars, laughing until they cried, the moment he walked away, leaving her standing alone, broken. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he shouted, his voice trembling. "No," she replied, and the sorrow in her eyes struck him like a fist to the gut. "You meant to protect yourself. But that choice cost us everything. You need to accept it." The shadows surged forward, and Alex staggered back, feeling their cold tendrils wrap around him again. "You think you can face the truth? How can you? You left her. You left all of them." "No." He roared at the darkness, the flames of his defiance reigniting. "I refuse to let my betrayal blind me anymore." With newfound fury, Alex charged toward Laura, reaching for her through the mist. "Tell me how to fix this. How do I bring you back?" Her lips parted, but the words were consumed by the howling shadows. "By confronting yourself. Unearth what you buried, Alex. Only then can healing begin." The ground quaked beneath his feet, the vibrant landscape swirling disorientingly. The shadows surged again, pressing in tight remnants of his choices, his cowardice, threatening to crush him beneath their weight. "Will you drown in your past?" they taunted. "No." He shouted, standing firm, determination flowing through him like a river. "I will rise. I want to be another ghost haunting my own life." Then, in a blinding flash, the mist around Laura began to clear, her light shimmering through the dark. For the first time, Alex saw her fully, free from the binds of memory. A single tear traced its way down her cheek, reflecting both pain and hope. "Find me," she whispered, and the shadows shrieked in a frenzy. "You have to dig deep." Then with a thunderous roar, she vanished, ripped from his grasp as the shadows closed in, tightening like a noose. Heart racing, Alex felt the darkness swarm around him, desperate to pull him back, to trap him in the web of despair. "I won to let you win," he bellowed, pushing against the tide. Solid ground beneath him twisted into a whirlpool of despair, and as he fought against the chaos, he heard a distant voice clear as a bell, "What will you sacrifice to unearth the buried truth?" With a final surge of resolve, Alex realized the answer lay somewhere in the echoes of his heart. The battle was far from over, and as the darkness roared in outrage, the question loomed larger than everything: would he have the courage to uncover the cost of his past? As the shadows writhed and the call of the void deepened, Alex knew he was about to learn the true meaning of sacrifice or risk losing everything forever. The shadows swirled violently around him, each surge like a cold wave crashing against his resolve. Alex's heart thundered in his chest as he fought against the relentless grasp of despair. "What do I need to unearth?" he called into the swirling void, his voice trembling yet unyielding. "Show me." Suddenly, the air around him shimmered, rippling like heat on asphalt. The darkness thickened, but through it, a flicker of light beckoned him. A sprawling, soot-stained wall appeared, covered in dark vines, whispering secrets of forgotten days. With each step he took towards it, the air felt heavier, steeped in anguish. "What's out this place?" he whispered, feeling an unfamiliar pull deep within. The vine moved, seems like it was alive, twisting down and revealing a narrow path. Urgency surged through him, he needed answers. "Laura, I'll find you," he reaffirmed, gripping the wall as he stepped through the darkness. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world shifted. Memories crashed into him like echoes bursting into the night. He stood on a dimly lit street, surrounded by old buildings that looked as if they were holding their breath. The past dripped from the architecture like raindrops ready to spill. Beneath the sighing trees, he felt the weight of eyes watching him, a crowded square filled with specters of his past. Laughter twisted into screams, joy morphed into chaos. Each figure moved about, trapped in a dance of their own misery. A shiver coursed through him as he recognized familiar faces, friends he had lost, lovers he had betrayed. "Alex!" a voice called, sharp against the cacophony. He turned. It was Sam, his childhood friend, waving frantically to catch his attention. Panic etched into his features. "Don't turn away. You have to remember." I don't want to." Alex gasped, heart racing. "The truth can't be buried, brother," Sam urged, his spectral face twisting with warning. "The lies are drowning you. You'll drown her too." In a burst of rage, shadows slammed against Alex like wind from a storm. "No. I'm not drowning," he shouted defiantly, unwilling to let his past consume him any longer. He pushed deeper into the heart of the square, the faces of those he had failed swirling around him. Fear clawed at him, urging him to retreat. But as he advanced, flickers of light broke through the darkness, revealing glimpses of laughter and love. Abrupt flashes of poignant moments danced before him, sharing dreams, celebrating victories, the joy of undying support. But as swiftly as those moments came, they faded into sorrow lost in the depths of regret. "Accept the pain." Sam's voice echoed through the haze. "You have to face the truth." Suddenly, a spotlight broke through the storm, illuminating a circle of shadows that twisted in anguish, revealing a singular figure at the center, a young girl, pale and trembling, eyes wide in terror. "Help!" she cried, and the plea struck Alex like a lightning bolt. "Who are you?" he asked, moving closer, desperate to break through her isolation. "I'm lost, I can't find my way back." Her words broke into shattered fragments, causing his heart to splinter. In that moment, Alex realized. Her fear was much like his own. The world around him seemed to pulse with a singular truth, a truth he had shielded himself from for too long. "I was lost once too," he murmured, kneeling before her. "Let me guide you." The darkness screeched, trying to pull him back. But Alex held firm, reaching out for her hand. He felt the weight of his choices in that simple gesture, felt every moment he had turned away from connection. "It's time to confront what binds us," he declared. As their fingers touched, the shadows shrieked, and a surge of energy erupted around them, threatening to unravel the very fabric of the night. "What have you done?" the shadows roared. He gripped her hand tighter, determination flaring like wildfire. "I'm bringing light to the darkness." Just as everything felt on the brink of collapse, a blinding light enveloped them, enveloping the square. Hope pierced through the nightmare, casting a veil over the chaos, but in its brightness, Alex realized he was standing at the edge of a deeper abyss, an uncharted depth where the very essence of his sacrifices awaited him. "Are you ready to face what has been hidden?" A voice echoed, deeper and more resonant than before, drawing shadows from the corners of his mind, and as the light began to swirl away, Alex's heart raced with fear and resolve. He turned and faced the churning void, knowing the next step could either be his salvation or his final descent. What awaited him on the other side? The brightness around them pulsed, the light so intense it threatened to blind him. With a sharp intake of breath, Alex felt the overwhelming energy slip through his fingers, the grip on the girl's hand weakening, pulling him away from her. "No!" he shouted, desperate to hold on, but the pull of darkness around him began to collapse inward. Suddenly, the blinding light flickered and a strong wind whipped around them. The square blurred and twisted, snapping Alex back and forth like a ragdoll. "You'll regret this." A chorus of whispers sneered, the voices echoing through the dim street. The despair returning in waves, like water swallowing him whole. Then he felt it a tug at his chest, an alarming sense of urgency. "You have to remember. You must confront the darkness." Sam's voice broke through the roar, steadying him even as the shadows lunged forward, hungry for whatever light he had welcomed that eye. In that moment of chaos, Alex's vision sharpened. He realized the young girl stood before him as an anchor, her eyes still pleading for hope amidst the swirling darkness. "Please, don't let me go," she cried again, reaching toward him with trembling fingers. "Hold on," he shouted in response, his voice rising above the whispers. Their hands connected once more, and Alex drew strength from her fear. The darkness thinned, revealing a warming glow at its core. What if, instead of fighting, he embraced both the light and the pain? "Together," he breathed. "We take this step together." With a surprising renewed force, he took a step forward, pulling her toward the light. The shadows recoiled, wailing in agony as he dared to confront them. As they moved, a bridge of flickering light formed beneath their feet, shimmering with the reflections of moments lost and found. A montage of his life unfolding. Alex and the girl traversed the shimmering pathway. He could see visions of himself entwined with pain-lost friendships, shattered dreams. Yet, among the wreckage, glimmers of triumph peeked through, urging him forward. "This is your truth, Alex," the deeper voice echoed again. "But remember, every truth comes with a price." The girl looked up, eyes vast. "What price?" "I think it's about choosing who I want to be." He struggled against the weight of memories, pulling forward the threads of love and hope woven through the brokenness. "I have to let go of the guilt. If I'm ever to save you, I need to forgive myself." The shadows stiffened, recoiling at his words like a beast retreating from the dawn. For a brief heartbeat, a soft glow enveloped him, each second becoming deeper, warmer. The moment felt electric, reverberating through his entire being, but just as they reached what seemed like safety within the embrace of the light, the darkness surged back, frenzied and relentless. "You think your petty words matter?" it roared, rushing toward them like a black tidal wave. "Alex!" Sam's voice called again, sharper now urgent. "Don't lose your resolve." Now, a choice loomed much larger than before. Alex tasted fear on his tongue, but he could also feel determination pulsing in his veins. The girl squeezed his hand tighter. "I believe in you." Pleased with one last defiant move, he shut his eyes against the storm of shadows. "I am not my past," he shouted, amplifying his will. A searing pain ripped through him, but he pushed forward, their interlocked hands shining bright against the encroaching dark. Suddenly, the shadows halted, bending and flickering, as if afraid to touch the light. "You cannot escape the consequences," they hissed. But before he could question their intention, a deafening roar erupted, shaking the very ground beneath them. Above them, a crack formed in the fabric of the sky, where bright hues of hope and darkness clashed, merging into an unholy dance. "What is that?" the girl gasped, her voice wavering. "I don't know," he replied, heart pounding as he stepped closer, the boundaries between light and shadow blurring into a chaotic spectacle, and for just a fleeting moment, he could see everything, the choices that led him here, the haunting moments he had avoided. Could he confront them? Then, engulfed in the chaos, they were swept away. The echoes of the past clawed at their heels as a new path opened before them. But would they emerge in the light or be swallowed into the abyss? With uncertainty gripping his heart, Alex held on to the girl beside him, ready to dive into the depths of his own truth. What awaited them in the heart of the storm? As Alex and the girl plunged deeper into the maelstrom of swirling lights and shadows, he felt the weight of his past bearing down on him. With every heartbeat, the memories that had once terrified him now transformed into a powerful surge of clarity. He realized these shadows were not just remnants of his mistakes, they were lessons to be learned, lost pieces of himself crying out for acknowledgement. Embrace it. The voice of Laura echoed in his mind. The truth is within your grasp, Alex. The vibrant chaos around them shifted, and he found himself standing before a vast chasm, a gaping maw of darkness throbbing like a wounded beast. The whispers escalated, an urgent plea wrapped in torment, urging him to turn back. But Alex stood resolute, the girl's hand clasped tightly in his. "We're doing this together," he said, drawing strength from her presence. Suddenly, a vision struck him. He saw himself as a child full of dreams, brimming with laughter. Faces of friends and family swirled around him, but his younger self was scared and overwhelmed. He was running, always running from the chaos in his heart, avoiding the very confrontation he now faced. "Why did I run?" he muttered, weighted by the pain of regret. "Why couldn't I just stay?" "You were scared," the girl said softly, the tenderness in her voice steadying him. "But it's time to stop hiding. Step into the light, into understanding." The shadows screeched, their voices sharp with anger. They surged forward, threatening to drag him under once more. Countless faces emerged from the abyss, lost friends, distant family, all wearing expressions of hurt and betrayal. The moment tore into him, sorrow gripping his insides. "I'm so sorry," he cried out, the words spilling from his heart. "Please forgive me." "Forgiveness starts with you," a familiar voice drifted through the chaos. Sam's ghostly figure emerged, stepping toward him with an encouraging smile. "You can heal, Alex. It's never too late." With renewed vigor, Alex inhaled deep, the air thick with both jasmine and ash, the essence of his losses, yet they became a powerful catalyst. "I'm ready," he stated fiercely, determination blazing. Almost immediately, the shadows drew back, recoiling from the warmth radiating from his acceptance. "You think you can change the past?" they hissed, their voices dripping with venom. "You'll pay dearly for this folly." "Maybe," Alex responded, facing the dark abyss that had haunted him for so long. "But I refuse to allow my pain to define my future any longer." And with those words, he stepped forward, dragging the girl with him, into the heart of the ingrained sorrow. As they crossed the threshold, brilliant streams of light pierced the thick fog, enveloping them both, illuminating their path. He felt the flicker of hope pulse through him like a heartbeat. It was the beginning of healing, not just for him, but for all those he had lost along the way. The shadows howled in protest but lost their grip, their icy tendrils dissipating into the ether. Infantile attempts to rewrite history. They shrieked, but their words were growing weaker, faded with each step Alex took toward the light. He could hear whispers of freedom, the voices of those he had once let down lifting him higher. "Forgiveness isn't erasure, it's a release," he shouted into the void. "I can't change what's done, but I can change how it lives inside me." The darkness recoiled, and the girl beside him began to shimmer, transforming into a vision of hope. She smiled, her eyes lighting up with encouragement, and as Alex moved closer, her essence seemed to blend into his, fueling his resolve. "Let go," she whispered. "Let the pain teach you, but don't let it consume you." With one final push, Alex dove into the raw brilliance, weaving through both the light and the shadows, embracing all that made him whole. Suddenly, he burst forth from the chaos into a bright expanse, a tranquil landscape reflecting serenity. Ahead stood figures who had once been lost in darkness, now bathed in healing light. "Alex!" they called, their voices harmonizing in a beautiful symphony. Each figure welcomed him, their smiles alight with understanding. "Take my hand," Laura's ethereal form shimmered in the distance, glistening like a beacon. "It's time to reconnect what was torn apart." As he grasped her hand, he felt warmth course through him, the connection binding not just their injuries, but opening the door to the love and forgiveness they had both sought for far too long. With a final surge of emotion, Alex felt the tears spill over, cleansing his spirit. The past, with all its tumultuous memories, was no longer his cage. Instead, it blazed behind him like a brilliant tapestry, each thread representing story, pain, growth, and ultimately, love. As the scene floated towards clarity, Alex turned back one last time to the shadows that had tethered him for so long. "You can't hold me anymore." What once had terrorized him now felt distant, an echo of a life he had come to understand, and in that moment, with Laura by his side, Alex embraced the future with open arms, the light washing over everything, illuminating the path forward. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in his life, he was finally free. At that moment, a voice echoed around him, punctuating the air like thunder, "Now, it's time to wake up." The darkness fell away and bright daylight enveloped him, promising new beginnings. Subscribing to the channel is crucial now. You need to subscribe immediately to be part of more exclusive stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now, it's vital to feed the algorithm and keep the magic going. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about what Alex's transformation means, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this conclusion. Your support is the lifeblood of our community.